leaders face huge challenges, right? I mean, just massive challenges, particularly in this post-pandemic era. And what every learning leader is trying to do these days is really understand how they add more value to the business. How do they address the business issues and the business needs? And the only way to do that is having great data.
Siemens is an engineering technology company, so it goes without saying that data is important. But as we're creating all of this stuff and doing all these things, if at the end of the day we can't go back to the business and say, hey, here's what we did and here's where we had a positive impact, nobody's going to care about learning. It can't just be an event or something that people pay for. We have to be able to show at the end of the day, this is what really did it. It should be a lever for an organization.
To drive a culture of data-driven decision-making, you just really need to have the processes in place where you're continuously talking about the data, whether it's the best quality or you're just kind of starting out. I think having that process in place where you're continuously meeting with your stakeholders, you're continuously meeting with your learning leaders, and having a conversation about, this is the insight that I'm seeing in your data, what are you going to do about it?
Most companies, even world-class leading professional services companies, struggle with what you would do with the data to help address these major issues that learning leaders face. And that's what Performitiv does. We have been leading an industry initiative with top organizations and experts to answer these questions. We've built the technology to streamline and automate this process so that learning leaders can point to where they're creating value and where they're not, where they're impacting business and where they're not. Really being able to manage the process like a strategic business process and be at the same level as other business leaders within their organizations.
Don't teach your leaders to fish for data, just give them the fish, right? So focus on the insight provided by or established from the data. Don't focus so much on the data itself, focus on what I like to call the what, so what, and now what. So the what is the data itself. The so what is the insight that's derived from that data, considering the context of your learning programs, considering what's going on. And the so what is really the action that you're taking based off of the insight provided. The conversation should always be about, okay, we know this is happening, what are we going to do about it?
When you can have that conversation, the whole conversation from there on out changes. I think a lot of times, maybe not a lot, but sometimes training is seen as, I need to train someone, so let me do it as cost effectively as possible. And then the conversation is all around the cost. But if you can get it away from the cost and more on the impact, and you can show previously that you've had an impact, your next conversation goes very differently. And everyone says, we want the seat at the table. Well, that's how you get it.
We have a global manufacturer that has been with us, and their story is really just an incredible story. When they moved over, when we looked at their data, they were a good corporate learning organization. Not a great one. Their data was good. They've implemented our technology. They've participated in this continuous improvement methodology and approach that we've been using, and their effectiveness grew by 40% over the past 3 years. And what that really means is that the impact has improved dramatically. What they did is they looked at the data, they saw that their content wasn't where it should be, their net promoter score wasn't where it should be, their application rates weren't where they should be. They took action to improve all three of those. And what happened was, because the content improved significantly, the scrap learning, people applying learning to the job, went down from 40% to 20%. That means 2 out of 10 people who go through the program are applying what they're learning. Just run the math on a global manufacturer, that's $1 billion of shareholder value. Perhaps more importantly, that's 2 out of 10 people in the organization that are happier with the results of the learning program. Just a terrific story, all demonstrated in the data.
I think a lot of employees want to be challenged. They want to be empowered, which is great because one of our strategic priorities are empowering employees. And they want to grow in their career. And, for some, it's growing and, climbing the ladder. But for a lot, it's just, I want to grow and become better and do different things. And learning enables that. And ultimately, we want to make sure that the programs we're offering are helping the employees to reskill, upskill, and be future fit. People need to know what they need to know in order to do their jobs today, right? But there's a lot of things coming in the future, and if you wait until the future gets here, you've missed the boat. So we want to be able to see and help employees with what they're doing in the day-to-day, but then kind of be able to look around the corner and say, hey, this is coming. Here's what we need to be upskilling on and getting familiar with and helping, the business move in that direction.
Being a learning professional, we have the unique opportunity to change people's lives. It sounds cheesy, but I think it's true. Like we can take someone who starts off as an in-flight crew member or maybe a ground ops crew member, and they can become anything they want to become at JetBlue. We've had in-flight crew members who really love working in the back of the plane, but decide to follow their dreams and become a pilot. We've helped to develop our crew members to really become a better version of themselves and accomplish more than they think they're capable of. I think for those that are just starting along in their measurement journey and in their learning journey, start somewhere. Don't be afraid to start. I think sometimes people who are just starting off want to make sure that they have exactly the right data or collecting the right information, but it's never going to be perfect. So at least start the conversation.
But, almost like the Steve Jobs thing, right? What are the 2 or 3 things you need to do and do well? And then just start there and measure that. And then just let the rest of it go for now. But start, and don't worry about not getting it perfect. It's not going to be perfect. And as you start, you'll start making those iterations that then get you closer to where you want to be.
If you can identify where there's an issue or a gap, anything that is hurting the process, and get that fixed right away, it has tremendous impact. Do you want your salespeople sitting through sales training, right, if it's flawed? Do you want your leaders to go off and, go through programs where the content's not as good as it should be? Do you want people, going to online learning and just suffering through, a long session that really doesn't add much value? No, that stuff is crippling. It's crippling in terms of the brand for the corporate university. It's crippling for the people going through those programs because they deserve better, right? So we have a chance to just kind of revolutionize how we do this. Let's start doing it.